Hello, lovely friends and everybody. Welcome to We'll Throw the After Party. It's everyone's favorite time of the week. And we're going to see how many times we can say time in this evergreen episode of We'll Throw the After Party because, time, what is time? We're going to discover the meaning of it tonight as we talk about Timeless with Alexis leading us through her pick. Everyone, a round of tacos in the chat. Marissa, I already see you have a point to make.
I do. You know what time it is? It's time for Marissa to close her window, which she was going to do before the show started. Hold on.
I really hope the highlight reel for today's episode is just how many times we say time, but I feel like that would be an incredibly hard edit, so maybe we don't do that.
Yeah, do you want to do that, Liz?
Bestie, I'm going to be on a plane tomorrow, but honestly, yeah. How was everybody's week? Marissa, let's start with you. You've had a joy of a week according to your work-life balance. Would you like to share with the people how many headaches you've suffered?
I think only one actual headache. Some threats of violence though, for sure. Just me internally, just like to the world. Mm-hmm. But I'm good. I'm happy to be here. I'm on my second coffee of the day.
Cheers.
Yeah. I'm really excited about this because I think it's gonna be fun.
We're in for quite the episode, and you're really gonna see the Canadiana come out from this side of the table, and the American history folks on the other side of the table this evening. Alexis, how are you feeling about venturing into your coveted world of Timeless?
I'm a little anxious about it. I think it will go great, but it is. I guess it is.
It is what it is. And how is your week? What have you been enjoying this week, Alexis?
Well, this was the last week of school for the semester. So I still have to do a lot of class prep stuff, but as far as like assignments, I am done. Final grades are in. So that was all very exciting. It was a good week.
Good. I love end of semester when you can just kind of finally like put things down for the first time in 4 months and just be like, I can't believe I don't have to do that for another few weeks. But I mean, in terms of things you've been carrying for 4 months, being able to finally put it away, there's no better feeling.
No, yeah, my body is kind of like, oh, this is what breath is supposed to feel like.
Right? Feel that. Great question in the chat. We have not done a Wakanda Forever review yet. Not all of us have had a chance to see said film. And you'll notice that Sly is not with us this evening. Sly is finishing their semester of school. So we're wishing Sly the best, grinding to the finish line there. Marissa, what have you been enjoying this week?
This week I really needed a good cry. So I started with like cheesy Christmas movie. I was trying to embrace the holiday spirit while also like going hard rom-com. Didn't really work out for me. I watched Under the Christmas Tree, which is a Lifetime movie from last year. It's a queer Lifetime Christmas movie. It's fine. Unfortunately, I liked Happiest Season more, and I don't really like Happiest Season, but whatever. It was fun. Then I watched Tick, Tick, Boom, which definitely made me cry. Definitely accomplished the goal there.
It is the right time of year for Tick, Tick, Boom. This like pre-Christmas weeks. It's cold. I also feel like January, when you're entering like January blues, that's also the right time to watch Tick, Tick, Boom.
Yeah. I think technically it takes place in February because Jonathan Larson's birthday is in February. But like definitely like dark, cold winter months is very Tick, Tick, Boom energy. But I watched that and I cried. And then because I wasn't really satisfied with Under the Christmas Tree, I wanted to go hard into rom-coms. But none of the rom-coms that I wanted to watch were streaming and I didn't want to pay for them. And then miraculously enough, they started announcing more Wicked casting, which immediately made me want to watch Bridgerton season 2. So like I still got the rom-com eventually. And that was my week.
That is a topsy-turvy week of what you've been enjoying. I feel like you finally got there in the end.
I did. I definitely got there in the end. Yes.
And if you're not following Marissa on Instagram, you had a fun Instagram story series kind of chronicling your journey with the Wicked announcements and what you were Googling in relation to the Wicked announcements, which were very well put. So please follow Marissa on Instagram for all of like the Wicked updates. You also, I think you had a tweet that was like to the 2 people that don't know that I like love Wicked, or was that you or was that someone else?
Yeah, I think I was talking about it on my close stories, and I said like
I'm exposing the close friends. Oops.
No, I was spilling secrets, and I was spoiling things about Wicked that I didn't want to spoil for people. And so I said, if you know me but you don't know Wicked, to the 2 people.
Right.
And I found out who those 2 people were very quickly. They let me know.
Your account is a safe space for people that are new to Wicked. And I don't know if anyone in our community is necessarily new to Wicked with all the deep cut theater tropes that we bring into this show, but certainly some of us forget a lot of the plot all of the time and just remember the music.
I'm not going to say anything about who else is on screen right now. I'm not going to say anything about who else is here.
Fantastic musical, Wicked.
Alexis knows all about Wicked.
All about Wicked.
Sly's been enjoying quite a bit this week. They put in the show doc, y'all might be on Mikey Way TikTok, but I'm on songs Pete Wentz wrote about Mikey Way TikTok back in my Fall Out Boy era. Whoops. Which is quite the statement that we don't have Sly here to unpack live with us. So we'll have to just bump that to next week, I guess.
It's the whoops for me. Like the whoops.
It's truly the whoops. I've been not enjoying a lot. I've been a little under the weather. I've been a little trying to pack 3 suitcases and get my life ready for a few weeks of a lot, which is not really abnormal for me other than the fact that it's all happening at once. So lots of TikToks to come, but I did do an exclusive sit down about the Ticketmaster drama with Taylor Swift. So if you're looking for a breakdown on what's been happening, it's got a great timeline and some exclusive thoughts with Tag 24 News. And shout out to Taylor who wrote that piece and pushed it out. You can catch it on the Tag 24 website and on YouTube. And as well, I did a bit with iHeartRadio. They had me back to play a game. You know how much I love a bit about Christmas movies, and we were drafting our top 5 Christmas movies, and my draft won thanks to everyone that showed up and listened and voted. That was a great time. And I think we might be doing some holiday movie magic next week on the show, so stay tuned for that. But what I will be enjoying is seeing who's going to win this World Cup after my team got kicked out today. So not a great week for Liz being a soccer fan. On my teams, my heart was on or gone, but lots more to come. And otherwise, it's been a week in the DMs as well. I've been really, by both of you and Sly, called out in the DMs with the TikToks that I've been sent. So thank you. Shout out to Alexis who took the rant from a few weeks ago and has been adding disclaimers to every TikTok you send. So now at least I know when I'm about to be called out versus Marissa just comes in hot with something that's devastating immediately.
That's not true.
I think it's
giving
true.
Context.
I think it's true. And Sly. Sly is the worst offender, honestly. And Sly was here for the rant. So Sly, you'll have to answer for yourself next week. But with that, why don't we do some ranting? I'm going to talk about Taylor Swift, which is no surprise. It was announced this week that Taylor Swift is doing a little directorial debut with Searchlight Pictures, and I've got a lot of content coming on that front. So I thought I would do a rant saying everything that is not going to happen with this directorial debut. It's a listicle rant, if you will. I'm taking a stab at the listicle journey. So I don't really know what this list is going to be, but this is everything that I'm saying is not going to happen. So if it does happen, we have a receipt of me being wrong. Marissa, what are you ranting about this evening?
I am also delivering a listicle that I haven't planned. But I'm going to talk about all of the new pop culture announcements that have been made over the last week that did not deserve the proper amount of hype, or did not receive the proper amount of hype that they deserved.
Respect. Alexis, what are you ranting about this evening?
Well, I was going to try to step away from the listicle and do a rant about why I feel that Timeless not referencing ER was a missed opportunity. But the specific episode I was going to rant about, I just realized I have conflated with another episode in my mind. So it's just going to be a wild ride. It's just going to be fun time.
I love it.
We'll
And
see
then
what happens.
at the end, we have been requested for 30 seconds to rant about something that Sly would rant about if they were here, or rant about something in honor of Sly's absence to laugh at once they're done their paper. So we're going to keep 8 minutes on the clock, but those last 30 seconds each, I think, are going to be some fun. How's that sound? We ready for a little after party rant?
I'm never ready.
Never ready. It's been a year of doing this show, and every time I ask that question, nobody is ready to start the segment. So that's really promising. Let's get going. Okay. This is not what we wanted. Oh, false start. Hold on. Here we go. All right. What? Huh? You getting into my rant time? Great. Can't wait. Everything that's going to happen with Taylor Swift's directorial debut. There's a lot that I am banking on, including star-studded performances, fable themes, but there's a lot that I think is realistic that's not going to happen. I wouldn't say with 100% certainty that Andrew Garfield will not be starring or making a cameo appearance in Taylor Swift's directorial debut. As much as my heart does desire it, there will be no Garfield to be found.
The first thing that was announced this week that did not receive the proper amount of hype are the Wicked casting announcements. Let's first start with our Bach, Ethan Slater, known for playing SpongeBob in SpongeBob the Musical. The thing that did not receive the right amount of hype is how tall Ethan Slater is. Bach is from Munchkinland and is famously short. And you know how tall Ethan Slater is? 5'7". You know how tall Jonathan Bailey is? 5'11". You know how tall Ariana Grande is?
Not me just learning that there was a SpongeBob musical. Okay, so in rewatching the pilot of Timeless, even though I have seen it approximately 5,742 times, it hit me this episode that they make a reference to General Hospital, kind of, but that they do not make a reference to ER, which feels like a giant missed opportunity to me, since one, as someone in this group put it, MCU sweater bestie is in the show.
Taylor Swift will not have a major character, but she will have a minor character, and it's going to break some hearts. It's probably going to be by someone beloved. Taylor Swift will film in Canada, and I think Blake and Ryan are going to have a lot of say and sway in her doing so, because they often film projects in Canada. But what she will not do is film anywhere close to me, and that is a crime, and I'm very upset about it already. Taylor Swift should film in the east coast of Canada.
Ariana Grande is, according to the internet, somewhere between 5 foot and 5'1". Let's just run that back for a second. Glinda is 5 foot, 5'1". Bach is 5'7", and Fiyero is 5'11". That makes no sense. Moving on. Madame Morrible is played by Michelle Yeoh. Perfect. The whole internet lost its mind. I appreciated it. It was the correct reaction. Give her goddamn Oscar this year, please, the Academy. Thank you very much.
So in my head, this could have been remedied with at least a Timeless season 3 episode of the cast of Timeless having to go back to the filming of an ER episode. And in my head, that ER episode was the first episode that Goran Visnich starred on. But I thought that the first episode Goran Visnich starred on was the one where he carried a pregnant Carol through the snow to the hospital.
Joe Alwyn will not be cast in Taylor Swift's directorial debut, unlike what all of the internet thinks, but there will be British accents in this film. And I would also say there will not be consistent use of accents, and especially British accents within this film. But it's not going to be detrimental to the film, because it's going to be in this fable, otherworldly like setting where anyone can have any accent they want, and none of it is derived from any specific meaning. And I kind of love that level of camp for her debut.
Then, following in the Wicked casting news, we got like 6, maybe 7 more cast members, all in slightly more minor roles. We got Glinda's friends at Shiz, Averick, who's Fiyero's like henchman dude, Some other professors, Jeff Goldblum is the wizard. I'm moving on from that because I have feelings about it. But we also got a Nessa Rose casting. Nessa Rose our actress is a wheelchair user, and no one is celebrating that.
But I really don't think that is his first episode of ER, because I don't think that's practical. I think maybe that's just the first episode of ER that he was in that I cared about, but I still feel like that is the one that they should go back and be involved in the filming of, and it should be some like, if this medical drama doesn't happen, TV, blah, 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 blah. But it's just really like camp. Like, it's just everybody being like, oh, that guy looks like Garcia Flynn, right? Like, I think that would be a fun time for everybody.
It's time to be real. So instead of ending my rant, we're going to take a be real. Everybody in the chat, smile. And we're going to post that immediately. Actually, it's blurry. But I will end my rant by saying that whatever Taylor Swift decides to do, everyone's going to hate it, except for the people that know and love her. We will all love it, but we will still be critical of it, but we're still going to love it. And I also think that she's going to compose something with an orchestra, and it's going to be cool.
I'm going to complete my rant, and then I'm going to take my Be Real. But our Nessa Rose actress, Marissa Bode, spelled the correct way, Marissa, as a Marissa who knows she is a Nessa. I'm not an Elphaba. I'm not a Glinda. I have gained a personality trait. Also, news that did not receive proper hype. The Mean Girls, the musical, the movie cast. Renee Rapp is returning as Regina. Jaquel Spivey from A Strange Loop is Damien. It's perfect. Come on.
I'm confused as to when I'm supposed to start talking about Sly. Is that my next 30 seconds? Okay. All right. So I think it would just be really great for them to all have to be involved. And I listened to an episode of the West Wing Weekly this week where a certain someone who is also kind of sort of tangentially related to Wicked was very annoyed that the West Wing was credited with the walk and talk when it should actually go to ER. So I feel like the timeless episode should just center around the walk and talk.
In honor of Sly, I'm going to make a prediction for the movie based on what I think Sly would enjoy from a Taylor Swift directorial debut. So I think that Sly would enjoy a big orchestra moment, some lovely cinematography, diverse folks behind of and in front of the screen. So not just casting, but also like the staffing and the crew and like good accessibility and inclusivity from all ends. And I think Echo should be in it as Echo. I think it should be a partnership with Marvel Studios.
In honor of Sly, I feel like I need to rant about how I just took my Be Real because I don't think Sly would have appreciated that happening in the middle of rants. So I did just take my Be Real. I did make a nasty face. That's just what I do on my Be Real. No, you cannot follow me. It is only people that I know in real life. Sorry about it. I don't think Sly really understands Be Real. I don't think they have an interest in it. And I apologize for doing that live on air. And now I have 3 seconds to kill. 2, 1, go.
Okay, so I thought we were supposed to rant about something that Sly would find interesting. And I think something that Sly would find interesting is that last night at way too late o'clock while I was decorating my Christmas tree, I discovered that both Wyatt Logan and Eddie Diaz are Army vets with trauma from the state of Texas, and that they both have really terrible fathers. And that I feel like this is proof that Wyatt needs therapy to evolve as a human being.
Wow. That's a deep cut to end rants with. I feel like we could talk for an hour about that.
Yeah.
And I feel like because you said Eddie, I can say, speaking of Buck, and just transition right over to Timeless, because I think there was a Buck drop in the second episode we watched, and I was like, is this why Alexis likes this show? Does Alexis only like shows?
I have no idea what's going on.
No idea what she's talking about.
Are you talking about how they talked about Buck Rogers?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
I have a new conspiracy theory that Alexis will only watch and appreciate and enjoy and be a part of a fandom for a show if there is a character named Buck. Alexis, would you like to speak for yourself?
I would like to say that most of these are projects that I consumed before I knew there was a character named Buck. Although I do think some of the shows that I enjoy have vaguely morally gray villains / heroes who are obsessed with weapons, which may be similar to another character with Buck in part of his name.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, we will let that stand the test of time. See what I did there? And
Please
see
stop.
if you become a fan of a new show or another show anytime soon in which a character is named Buck. How's that sound?
I'm good with that.
You're good with that? Love it. A very Buck-coded thing. This is interesting. Okay, so for those of us that don't know what Timeless is, because I'm still including myself in the I don't know what Timeless is camp.
100%.
Okay, so there's a lot of us here that are enjoying this new show for the first time, which is not a new show, and apparently it has a movie, which I only saw written in the show doc movie moments ago. This is Alexis' pick for what we're all going to enjoy this week. Eventually, my and Marissa's backgrounds are going to make sense, but Alexis asked us to watch 2 episodes of Timeless, the pilot episode, and then season 2, episode 4, which is the Salem witch trial. So we picked some witchy backgrounds. Ooh la la. Alexis, can you walk us through why Timeless is your pick for your takeover? And then we're gonna get into some fun.
Yes. So maybe I can. When this was originally pitched, the example kind of used was doing Leverage, and because Leverage is a show that's really core to my personality, and it's a property that I reference on We'll Throw the After Party a lot. But I am so close to Leverage that I didn't feel like it was a show that I could allow people to like pick on and make fun of. And after I found out that we were doing Twilight, really cemented this choice, because Twilight was a film that we got to pick a lot of fun at that we still can enjoy. And Timeless is a property that I really love and really enjoy. And there are characters in Timeless that I really relate to, but it is also a property that is sometimes a shit show. And I felt like this was a great group of people to both experience that part of me and, make fun of kind of the hilarity and the campiness that is occasionally Timeless.
Muted. Absolutely muted.
I said, did you call this show camp? Because oh boy, is it camp. Particularly.
I still don't know that I know what that word means, but I think...
I have to make the argument here that Timeless is not camp purely because its budget is absurd. It's like the most highly produced network television show I've ever seen. Like, Once Upon a Time's production value is camp. Timeless is like Marvel movie.
I will say that I think Timeless is camp as a Canadian that sees so much American propaganda in it. From the 2 episodes I've watched, you've picked 2 extraordinarily American points in history to capitalize on. It's beyond me. Like, the first episode is Hindenburg. I have literally heard of that event 1 time in my entire existence. And that is not because of like a lack of knowing what America is. It's because that's how significant it is to the way that we're taught history. Not that it wasn't a significant event. It's just there's other ones that took precedence in terms of global severity. So I was shocked watching this show to hear that the logic that was being used for the choices that were being made, because it was so American to me that it was like, wow, oh, I see what this show is.
Oh yeah.
It is also I one of the things that I find really fascinating, like in the first episode, in the first probably 2 episodes, like the pilot and then one that you didn't see, the assassination of Abraham Lincoln. We do this really quick switch.
That is how why are you surprised, Liz? That
I'm
is how he died.
An episode on it. I'm surprised they did an episode on it.
Yeah.
National Treasure is about it. Like, people love to make content about Abraham Lincoln's death. But
in the first episode, there's this quote that's like, I think for somebody that loves history, like that you would want to save it, right? And then in the very next episode, Lucy says, history isn't perfect, but it's ours, right? Which is kind of a little bit like both coincides with, but also like kind of contradicts with that statement, right? Like Lucy is saying, there are parts of history that I do not love, but I am still saving it for some reason. But it becomes very clear throughout the show that the only history we are really concerned about is American history. We're not concerned about history anywhere else in the world. Like, we are trying to save American history.
And I also kind of like thought it was interesting, at least in the 2 episodes that we watched, that we didn't really see global scale. Other, like in the pilot, you kind of hear a little bit of global scale, what would happen, but in terms of the timeline resetting in these 2 specific episodes, like it was to very finite points in the relative scale of what could happen when you change history, which I was like, Canada and Mexico are 2 countries that are connected to America. Like the borders don't like impact the geographic, the terrain implications of history changing, you know?
One of the things we'll touch on a little bit in a game that we're going to play later, but is the way that this show was kind of like, so this show was canceled after the first season and then brought back for a second season. And then it was the episode order they had promised for the second season was cut short. We found that out around the beginning of the second season. And then they came back and did a movie that some of us do not consider to be canon. But one of the things that from being picked up and canceled and being picked up and canceled and moved around and like trying to appeal to certain sides of the network that gets lost is this through line about us not always recognizing when history changes, right? And this idea that like history could have changed, like I am of the firm belief that this is not the first time that Lucy has discovered this and gone back in time. Like we are not seeing the first experience of this, right? I am firm in that belief. Some people would disagree with me, but I'm right. So like that there is the possibility that tons of history changed for Lucy and she was just never aware that any of it changed, which is something that the fan fiction community really latched onto, was this like idea and fear that these people would have that if they were not on every mission, that they would not be aware of how much history has changed. And that for a history professor, which is an arc that's included at the end of the show. At the end of the show, Lucy gets tenure at a university. How much history has she had to relearn because she changed it or it changed during this time?
That's fascinating. Yep. So while we think through that, because that gave my brain much to chew on, I don't know who's recommended this game, but it's a very chaotic one that I would never have guessed we would do during Alexis' show. But you volunteered to explain the gaps in the plot.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very excited to learn what happened between these 2 episodes. But before we do that, I think we should do a brief summary of what happened in the pilot. But perhaps Marissa and I can say what we think happened in the pilot. Perfection. And then you take it away.
Good. Sounds good.
Okay, great. Because we're a group of cheaters, let me scroll to my notes.
Yeah, let's get my really... I'm not looking at Alexis's notes. I'm going to talk about my really well-documented notes. Mm-hmm. Marissa's first note says a blimp. And mine says, this is so American. So we can already see just how detailed this recap is going to be. Marissa, would you like to start us off?
Yeah. Are we just going to vibe?
Let's
are we going to put a cap on it?
No, let's vibe.
Okay, great. So, there's a blimp. The pilot of the show starts with a blimp. And it's a famous one. I couldn't remember what it was called. We got there eventually. It's the Hindenburg. The famous historical event, the explosion of the Hindenburg. And then, boom, crash, we're in present times, and there's academic bureaucracy because Lucy, that's all I know, is not getting tenure, but her mom founded this history department, and it's a whole thing, and nepotism's not working in her favor.
Yep. And then she says, actually, I'm going to save that for when we're doing our iconic quote segment, because there are a few iconic quotes that happened and some not so iconic quotes that happened in the first 5 minutes of this episode. But eventually she leaves her like dying mother and is like, I started writing notes, and all of a sudden I look up at my screen and she's at this place where there's a time machine and they say, you have to go. And she's like, what? I'm not an astronaut. To which I was like, why? You don't need to be an astronaut to go back in time, bestie. Like, they're asking you to go back in time, not in space. But I digress. They're like, no, because you're a history professor. And then they make her put on a skirt, and she tells them that the skirt's about 10 years too advanced to the time they're sending her to. And they go, that's fine. And then the only primary, like, main cast member in the show who's Black says, hey, you should not send me back in time because I'm Black and that will be bad. And then another character who is also Black says, you have to go for this reason. And then they don't tell us what that reason is to hold us in suspense. But I did not need that suspense when the same story is sending a Black man back to 1930s America in an outfit that's far too modern. So regardless of the danger they have put this man is, they have now sent them back in time along with blue-eyed man who's very mysterious and a little drunk. And my note was, oh, he has very blue eyes and he doesn't say much. And then they go back in time. Marissa, we can't see you. We've lost Marissa, which means I get to keep going. How are we doing so far? Great. Sylvan, I'm going to get to your very important point next, which is there's a comment made about her bra and underwire. And this is a very important point that I'm going to come back to later in the show. So we're going to pause it there. But bras are important for about a minute. And then all of a sudden, they're back in time. And then the man who we've heard nothing from other than I'm drunk and I have nice eyes, although I said that, not him, says, oh, Jersey. And they're in a bar, one bar in Jersey. And they find the one person in all of 1930s, like New York, New Jersey area who they needed to find in a bar. And they're like, have you seen this man? Because they're chasing down a man. They're chasing down like a man who they think wants to do something with the Hindenburg. And she's like, yeah, your friend was here 2 hours ago. And then they recruited him to help with the blimp. And I thought that's an interesting way to get a job. I wish that they still recruited people at a bars to do manual labor. I
have never put that together until this.
I learned a lot from this episode. I wish that I could go to a bar in Jersey and get a little part-time afternoon job. I wonder how much they paid. Although that was not the point at all. And then she was playing a pinball machine. And I wanted to know if that pinball machine was accurate to the time. And I'm sure it was. But I did have questions about it. I also had questions about all the shenanigans happening in the bar. But regardless, there was also this weird bit with our friend. What is his name? The pilot, the coder, the
Rufus?
Is that his name?
Rufus is the Black man that they brought back to the 1930s.
I did not learn that man's name in the 2 episodes that we watched. So Rufus, which I've just learned, makes a comment about waiting outside the bar, and he gets a weird look, and then I don't think anything comes from that weird look, which was an interesting way of addressing being being an oppressed person in the 1930s. But regardless of that, Marissa's back.
I would just like to point out, unless I missed it, I don't think you mentioned why they have to go back in time to begin with.
Yeah, because there's a man they're chasing down.
Yeah, but they're chasing down the man because he stole the time machine.
Oh.
With weapons, which is when we learn Rufus's name.
See, that was when I was writing notes, because I didn't get any of that. Did you get any of that, Marissa, when you were watching it?
Not in that moment, but I did eventually.
Yeah, the entire setup for the series went straight over my head. I was writing a note, and the next thing I know, they're justifying all of these choices that they've made and talking about skirts.
I watched them explain how time travel worked, and it's like a curve that you fold back over itself. And then I had to write some snarky notes about that. And then
I think I did as well.
When I came back to the episode, they were getting in the time machine. So
okay, but the gunpoint robbing of the time machine still happened before the explanation of time travel.
Right. Okay.
I made a note about it. No, Alexis knows I made a note about it because she replied to it.
Oh, yes. You did make a note about it. Yeah.
I wrote, "Oh, sweater bestie is bad," because the way that certain people that I know talk about this character, the affection that they feel towards him, did not give me.
It must be a time machine, always rooting for the anti-hero. That's what I got from him in this episode. Because I knew we were going to root for him at some point, but it wasn't then. So, Marissa, we were at the point when they're going to leave the bar, basically, in New Jersey. Like, we've gone through that whole sequence.
Cool.
So, do you want to pick it up from there for a second?
I don't remember what happens next. Hold on.
Okay, you figure that out. I'll be...
Wait. Wait. No! I don't have anything written about this. It just starts getting weird. Okay, wait. They're about to leave the bar?
Yeah, so
I don't know what happens next.
They meet Kate Drummond.
Right?
Kate Drummond says, your friend got picked up from this bar to go help out with the Hindenburg.
Right.
And then what do they do?
Right. So they go to the site of the Hindenburg landing.
Yes! Go, Marissa, go!
They go to the site of the Hindenburg landing and they're looking for Sweater Bestie. And they can't find him, but then they pull some military crap on the police and they're like, oh! So then the police start looking for him too. But then we just go into full murder. And then we're like, that's okay. We can just leave this body on the floor. We'll go back to looking for Sweater Bestie. And then somebody finds the body that they left on the floor and then they get arrested.
Yep. And then, this goes back to our earlier point when a bra becomes important once again. So to go back to someone's very astutely said the underwire. So one thing about shows like this, in a pilot, every line is deliberate. So when, blue-eyed Sherlock at the beginning was like, underwire, like, and she was like, no, don't look at my bra. And he was like, Then all of a sudden he was like, give me the bra. And I was like, I knew that line was going to be important. And it wasn't just like a misogynistic thing. And now I would like to publicly say that I have just gone through a shopping spree of new clothes, and there's not nearly enough underwire in my day-to-day wardrobe in case I am told that I am the only person that can go back in time. And I'm very now concerned about that. So that's something that I need to go reevaluate for myself. Thanks, Timeless, for teaching me the value of an underwire. So yes, they use the underwire to escape jail, but not before provoking the police with Rufus, which was yet another incredible choice. And it was supposed to be a moment of him like standing up and telling them like the future is such a the future is different than the 1930s if you're a black man in America, which is certainly that's one way to look at
it's a take.
It's one take. It's absolutely a stance that they decided to take. But then before the police can do some stuff and not be good, Bestie with the underwire, blue-eyed Sherlock gets out and I'm calling him Sherlock in my head because to me he was like very mysterious.
I really appreciate that you refuse to learn his name.
No.
Why the fuck, Alexis? I would like you to explain why the fuck we should learn white men's names.
Shouldn't. That's why I love it.
So blue-eyed Bestie, the man that Taylor Swift wrote "Teardrops on My Guitar" about, beating up the police thing, get out of the jail, and then they do that, and then I don't. Marissa, do you know what happens after that?
Yeah, they have to go back to the landing site of the Hindenburg because they have to go back to find Sweater Bestie again because they couldn't find him the first time. They went full murder, and then they're like, they're like, we have to go on the blimp because they went back to the full murder.
There was a hard cut and they were just on that blimp and I was like, where are they?
First, they went back to the full murder situation where they had been arrested and discovered a walkie-talkie that was not a walkie-talkie. It was a detonator. So then they had to go onto the blimp because they realized why they prevented the Hindenburg from exploding in the first place is because they wanted to explode it on the way out rather than the way in, because they wanted to hurt different people. So then they go onto the blimp and they find the bomb, and Sherlock blue-eyed situation picks up the bomb with his bare hands.
And nothing happens. It's completely fine. Nothing.
Totally
when he picks up his bomb with his bare hands, not a thing changes about the moment other than he's holding a bomb.
Yep. And then Kate, blonde reporter, plucky girl, shows up, and she's like, "Why are you here? You're a creepy white man. Leave me alone." And they're like, "There's a bomb on this blimp. We have to stop it. We're here to save you."
And then someone tries to come and stop them from getting at the bomb. And then there's like a big fight in the kitchen, and then Miss Reporter is also helping in the fight. She's really not being that helpful, but she's trying. But he's kind of getting his ass kicked. But eventually, it's fine. And then they literally just like cut the wire on the bomb, and the bomb doesn't go off. And it's shocking, to be frank. But then Bestie, who was like coming for them, shoots his, and that blows up the blimp. So the whole bomb thing, those stakes got thrown out like literally within 5 seconds because the blimp was out anyway.
Yeah, and it wasn't even to like hurt someone. It was literally just to go through the blimp, which then like ignited, and then it like, and also like if you watch the like explosion at the beginning of the episode, there was no time for anyone to escape. But if you watch the explosion later in the episode, they have like a full 2 minutes to run out. Like, we're really...
It leads me to the question of if the was a solution all along, why would they go with the bomb in the... It feels like a lot of work for the same outcome. Like...
Yeah.
Yeah, so not a really well thought out plan. And then there's this horribly distressing scene of people, like a child is traumatized and the fire and oh my god, all this stuff happening. And then Taylor Swift's ex is like, you gotta get out of here. I gotta get the guy. But then she follows him, and then the guy goes, and then she has that sequence.
Which, let's be real, we all could have seen that happening. Like that was pretty. All of the things that were going to happen happened. They just happened in a different order. Like, great,
correct,
cool,
correct.
Bottom line, they did explode the Hindenburg. Blonde reporter, plucky girl, does eat it. And they do not catch Sweater Bestie.
But then
they just go home. But
Sweater Bestie does talk to Lucy, and he says, "Oh, I'm going to tell you a few ambiguous, important things you got to know in a real mysterious way. Yeah. I've got your diary, and you got to ask the people that hired you about." He said it, and it starts with an R, and it's very important. What is it?
Rittenhouse.
I thought it was Riddle House this whole time, and I was like, that's kind of fun, riddles and time, but it's not. It is not Riddle House, but in my head now, it is going. I'm sorry, Alexis. It can be Rittenhouse, but it is now Riddle House to me.
Sure.
They solve riddles of time, so the riddle exists, and then they go back to present time.
Yeah.
And Lucy,
well, new present, because it's not the same present that we left. It's new present.
Yeah.
Because they changed the history, so then the future changed. And then they're like, we don't know what he wants. Why is he doing this? He's trying to erase America. And it's like, is that a bad thing? Probably not. But like, maybe if they're fascists, like...
And then she tries to go home, and her mother is healthy, and her sister no longer exists.
And I was very sad about that. And then we did it. That was the pilot.
How'd we do?
That took
I
so
am just
long.
so sad that we weren't in the position to do this while the show aired, because I think we would have been the most popular people on the internet if weekly you two just gave a completely sober but seemingly drunk summary of the events.
Timeless?
Of Timeless.
Well, listen, we watched one episode. We watched 2 episodes out of order of a show that we don't know anything about from 4 years ago yesterday. and we're doing the best we can.
I watched it 3 hours ago. I've got no excuses. None. It should, well, I really played myself because we all know that I have no short-term memory. So the fact that I was like, I'll watch it right before the show and it'll be fresh goes against everything I've ever learned about myself.
We also forgot to mention Gia, and Gia becomes very important.
Who's Gia?
Oh, right. Yes. Tech girly.
Tech girly.
Oh, I liked her. And she's a great actress in other projects as well.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Alexis, you're now going to do an attempt at
They would have. They really would have.
God, this is so fun. Okay. Also, I have to fully pause. There's no way that you're telling me that Blue-Eyed Taylor's ex-bestie's name is Wyatt.
It's Wyatt.
It's
Logan.
Wyatt Logan.
Incorrect. That's wrong. That is wrong. That's like if you made a Mad Lib AI and said, find the most American
100%.
name.
100%.
Wyatt Logan. There's a great, AfterBuzz used to do, I guess maybe they still do, but they used to do like recaps and analyses of like shows as they were like airing. And they do a recap of like the first season of Timeless where they point out the number of times Delta Force is not explained, but just used as a term for like really important military shenanigans. So like anytime it's like, why does Wyatt Logan have really nice teeth? Delta Force. Why does Wyatt Logan I care about cars? Delta Force. Like it's just any question can be answered with Delta Force.
Incredible.
Which also sounds like a Mad Lib of important American military project.
Yeah.
Fully.
Within like the first 10 minutes of the first episode, I was like, wow. I feel like at some point Alexis had explained Timeless as like American Doctor Who, but there's a military. And it was the most succinct summary. Like it is 100% correct.
Yeah.
It is like American Doctor Who, but like heavily militarized, which is the most American version of Doctor Who you could have.
To be fair, when I heard American Doctor Who, military was fully implied to me.
Oh,
like I didn't. Yeah. Fully implied that was the twist.
Like one of the main things about Doctor Who is like it is very anti-military. So like when you go American, you gotta go military.
I think this episode, the pilot specifically, was one of their attempts to be Doctor Who without copying Doctor Who, but they didn't have their own idea. Because we don't really explain, like, so in Doctor Who, you have this idea that like some events in time must happen, which is clearly what they're trying to do with the Hindenburg Kate Drummond thing.
Yes.
But we never just like call it that. Like it just becomes this like 2-season plus movie argument about fate and free will that is never really resolved one way or the other.
Fascinating. Yeah. I'm endlessly fascinated. And in my pursuit of endless fascination, Alexis is now going to do a game that she has designed herself. But I would like to amend the game and say, Alexis, you're going to recap all of the in-between plot points.
Okay.
And I think when you get to the second episode that we watched, you should stop and Marissa and I should attempt to pick up where we left off. And also we'll be able to explain the episode with the new context we've learned.
Sure. Sounds perfect.
Yeah.
Because I know for me, a lot of my notes from episode 2, like let me just give you a preview of the second episode that we watched.
I didn't even touch the questions. I was like, I don't know what's going on. I'm only going to talk about what I see in front of me because there was so much that was unexplained.
I lost a lot of time with episode 2 to trying to Google about American presidents, but that's an entire point of the show we're going to get to in a little bit. So Alexis, I'm gonna put a timer up.
Okay.
You've requested 2.5 minutes.
Sure.
So we shall honor your request for 2.5 minutes.
Okay.
And I'm gonna reset it so you get a full 2.5 minutes. Let's see how much recapping of Timeless you can give us in 2.5 minutes.
Okay.
Ready?
Sure.
And go.
Okay, so the next episode is the assassination of Abraham Lincoln, where we learn that this is not when we learn that Flynn's family is murdered, but we find out that Flynn's family was murdered, that he did not kill them, that his wife and his daughter were by other parties. And Rufus begs Lucy to save Abraham Lincoln. She goes on a date with Robert Todd Lincoln. She decides she's not going to save Abraham Lincoln. And then when it comes down to it, she tries to, and he gets anyway. And then we have Atomic City, where we meet love of my life, Judith Exner Campbell. And we find out that the Australian, now American white man that Rufus really liked, that went with Flynn willingly, that he is not kidnapped. And they steal the core of an atomic bomb to make the time machine battery run forever. And then we never deal with that again. Then they end up as the plot of a James Bond movie. Then we end up at the Alamo, and we find out that Wyatt has this really traumatic military history, and that Garcia Flynn speaks as many languages as Gordon Visionist speaks, which is like conservatively 13. And we also find out that Lucy has a really bad memory, and she cannot remember the letter of the Alamo, so she just makes some shit up, and it works anyway. And then Watergate happens, and we find out that Rufus knows that he is giving information to Rittenhouse, but Rittenhouse is threatening his family, so he's doing it anyway. And Lucy, we find out that Lucy and Flynn have had a couple chatty chats, if you're in the fan fiction world, have slept together a lot. And she knows about the notebook, and Flynn tells everybody that Lucy knows about the notebook. And so Wyatt gets mad that they're keeping secrets from him. Wyatt also keeps trying to bring his wife back. Then we go to the space race. Well, no, then Flynn tries to strand them in France. We go to space. We meet Flynn's mom. Flynn saves his brother. Wyatt is still pissed that he can't save his wife. Then there's some flirty flirt happens. Then we find out that Flynn is a good person because he cares about horses. Then we try to save Wyatt's wife, but we can't save her because Karma is a cat. Then we find out that Lucy's mom is Rittenhouse, and that Lucy's dad is the head of the supremacist organization, and they kidnap her. And then Wyatt
still didn't answer any of my questions.
Please continue. Just keep going at that exact rate.
Well, so Wyatt goes to get Lucy back, and we find out that there's this Emma person who is like this evil, pissed off white woman who believes that she should be heir to the throne because she did the throne of supremacy, because she did the work and Lucy didn't. And so Lucy tries to herself, and Wyatt stops her and brings her back to the present. They also got Flynn put in jail during this time, which Lucy tried to prevent. She said she was going to go back and get his family, and then they double-crossed her and they put him in jail anyway. And then Lucy went and broke him out of jail by going back in time and meeting Hedy Lamarr. And then when he got out of jail, Lucy and Wyatt in that same episode slept together for the first time. And when they got back to the present, Wyatt got a phone call from his wife, who is now alive. And he asked no questions about why she was alive. And then Lucy was motivated to let Flynn become a part of their team.
Okay, Marissa, immediate takeaway.
All network television is the same. All hour-long network television, like network drama, is as convoluted as that.
Okay, like my immediate takeaway was his name is Flynn.
Garcia's
last name.
Flynn. His last name is Flynn. They were the Flynns.
He goes by Flynn?
Well, it depends who you ask.
Because in my brain, the only Flynn allowed to exist is Eugene from Tangled.
Eugene Fitzherbert.
I didn't take him. All the names in the show don't work for me. I have a major problem with the naming of characters. Other than Lucy, I'm fine with Lucy. That's fine.
Yeah.
But to your credit, you very incredibly summarized many things in a very short amount of time.
Yeah.
And I'm very intrigued about this horse angle, but we don't have time for that at this time. So I vote that we leave that.
Oh, I completely forgot that it is really important that we go back in time and we find out that Lucy's grandfather was gay, but that he lived his whole life in the closet. And so they convince him to continue to live his life in the closet while secretly gathering information about Rittenhouse the whole time. So he makes this entire storage building of Rittenhouse information for them, which we then don't get to use because Rittenhouse blows it up.
We need to abolish network television. No.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And he kind of hits on Wyatt. That's kind of a situation.
To me, that wasn't given. Blue-eyed Taylor's her next bestie. Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot that it's really important that he's not a straight person.
Is that Nicholas?
No. That is like her great-great-great-great-great-great-great-granddad.
Yeah.
And the founder of Rittenhouse. Who Incredible. They go back in time, and he's a soldier that got shot. He's supposed to, and they bring him back to life to bring him to the future so he can run the supremacy organization.
Okay. So on that incredible note, I will say.
So I got it, honestly.
Yeah.
I got it.
I'm like 60%, which is way higher than I was shooting for with that recap. So I'm pleased. Yeah. And it's nothing to do with Alexis and everything to do with my short-term memory. So I will say, for those of you that have not watched these episodes, there is a brief recap off the top of episode 2. So there are a few plot points that we were aware of, including Blue-eyed Bestie's wife coming back to life. We did know that was about to happen heading into the second episode that we watched.
And we knew that there was conflict because we did see a recap of the sexy times.
Yes.
We did. Yeah.
That the sexy times were highly controversial because they aired a trailer of the sexy times that is actually sexy. But what aired in the episode due to like shooting issues was very not sexy at all. Like they're just in the pool and then they smooch and then the door shuts and that's kind of the end of it.
Oh.
Wow.
But in the trailer that they released, which you can still find, it's like a hold-on situation.
Why was that not a part of the required viewing before this? Because I feel like the stakes would have been higher for me had I seen that trailer.
Oh, well, maybe because I really like Wyatt Logan.
So we go into this episode. Marissa, where were you heading into this episode? Where
like emotionally, physically?
Like emotionally.
Spiritually.
Spiritually, I'd like to know, where were you heading into this episode?
I was real excited. I love the Salem witch trials. I find them fascinating.
I don't handle the Salem witch trials all that well myself, so I was immediately caught off guard. Not caught off guard. I knew that was what we were watching, but every time I watch content around that period of time, I am just so filled with feminine rage that it's like, and if you've been following anything about my life, there's a lot of feminine rage happening at this moment for me. So I felt like there was a lot of I was projecting maybe a little bit onto this episode, but I digress. So let's start recapping this episode. One question. Who's the ginger?
That's Emma.
That's Emma.
Evil Emma. She has no personality. She has no plot. She is just Emma.
And then there's also like a Peloton.
Yes.
Fascinating. Okay, that's what I got from the first kind of cut. Marissa, would you like to start us off with where you think this episode started?
Yeah. It started in the Salem witch trials. It seems like a theme where they show you the historical event and then they go back to the present and then they travel to the historical event. So they're like, look, this episode's going to be about the Salem witch trials. And then Ashley Greene showed up, but it's not Ashley Greene. It's just an actress that looks like Ashley Greene, that is playing white man's wife. And then the spooky people with the Peloton are in Regina's office from Once Upon a Time, like the exact set of Regina's office from Once Upon a Time. And Peloton man, old-timey Nicholas, is actually a cast member from Once Upon a Time.
Thank you.
Wait. Not him.
What is
one
he
of the
from?
Judges. One of the heck? Can you still see me?
Yeah, we can still see you.
Okay, my screen faded to black and I don't know why. I can't see you. Nope, now I can.
Okay, hello.
Sorry. Ooh. What is going on today?
Michael Reed. Who is? I'm sure he's in Hallmark movies. I've seen this man.
Oh.
He's known for Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, apparently. He is. He's in many Hallmark movies.
Peloton Man is not the Once Upon a Time cast member. It's one of the judges later on. That's a later issue.
I would like everyone to know that Nicholas is in a TV movie called You're Baking Me Crazy, but it's bacon like bacon. BACON bacon. You're baking me crazy.
No.
He's in many movies I have seen from the Hallmark-esque channels of the world. Wow. Okay, that was really important to me that we all know that Liz recognized Nicholas from a Hallmark movie, which may or may not have been You're Baking Me Crazy.
Great. Yeah. So they're in Regina's office and then we move on. Then something in history about the Salem witch trials is happening, like with Rittenhouse or like the mothership or something. I don't. So Lucy has to go to the Salem witch trials. And white man is too busy with his re-alived wife that he's not going to go. So they need someone with pew-pews to go because of course you do. And so they're like, great, we'll take Sweater Bestie. And there's like conflict and tension. And it honestly, Sweater Bestie gives me strong Zemo vibes. That whole little spaceship ride gave very much Plane to Madripoor energy. Then the history happens.
Well, we forgot the part where Rufus gaslighted what's her name.
Oh yeah. Tech girly.
Straight up gaslights our bestie about the premonitions. He's like, or you're just making it up.
I forgot to explain that. Yeah, that Gia can now see the future.
Gia can now see the future, and Rufus was straight up like, "No, you don't," and she was like, "I do," and he was like, "No, you don't," and I was distressed, and that was the whole that was the whole conversation. So after that, they're back in time. And then they immediately stumble upon the protagonist that they need to find, which again, incredible that they're able to immediately stumble across the first person that they absolutely need to discover in order to progress through their story. And it's this blonde that looked like Penelope and Bridgerton to me at first. And I was like, ooh, crossover, but no.
I thought she looked like Sydney Sweeney.
Oh, yeah. Very good. Very true. And she's starting like a resistance, being like, we should not, women, they're not witches. Witches aren't real. And they're like, we are from Boston. And I don't know why Boston's a safe haven here, but it is a part of history I didn't know. And it
was like the only major city in Massachusetts. It makes complete sense, Liz.
It may be the only part of this episode that really works on a historical level.
Oh, great. I'm so pleased to hear that. So they're from Boston and they're going to help. And she's like, great. And then
well, what she actually says is we're going to the tavern, because beer is proof that God wants us to be happy. Now continue.
It's true.
Yeah.
And then my next note is a bunch of sad faces, which I think is the part of the story where they say they're gonna, because a bunch of the women, because they did a court thing, and the court was like, yeah, they're witches and you're allowed to, and it was very, very sad. And then Lucy realizes that blonde bestie who we met before is the mother of Benjamin Franklin.
Who's Benjamin Franklin, Liz?
President Benjamin Franklin.
I wrote the
Benjamin
very astute
Franklin?
note, Googled Benjamin Franklin to see what he did in office. And then I missed like the next 10 minutes of the episode because I was trying to figure out who this president of the United States was. Benjamin Franklin, president. And I got through a lot of Wikipedia and I learned things like he's an inventor known for the lightning rod, bifocals, and the Franklin stove. He founded many civic organizations, including the Library Company, Philadelphia's first fire department, and the University of Pennsylvania. He earned the title of the first American for his early, and a word I don't know, campaigning for colonial unity. I don't know what that is either. And as an author and spokesman in London for several colonies, I do know what a colony is. As the first United States ambassador to France, he exemplified the emerging American nation. You can see why I thought this man had all the qualifications to be president. And I really just hit copy, paste into the show doc, and kept going.
That is true.
He could have run for president with qualifications like that. He was an ambassador. He invented very important things. And
yet,
when you Google him, it says founding father. I don't know what a founding father. I assumed maybe they were all presidents. And I can't blame Canada on that one. That's strictly on my shoulders. Correct.
What did I miss?
Oh, and then I did go down a Hamilton rabbit hole because I was trying to figure out if he was in Hamilton, and he was not in Hamilton.
No, he was in Hamilton at the public,
but
then he was cut from the show before it went to Broadway.
He's in the Hamil Tapes project with Lynn.
Yes.
Which I learned through a Screen Rant article. And then all of a sudden it seemed like underwire bras were going to be important again, but they weren't. So Marissa, what was happening while I was doing that?
Oh, I really don't know the order in which these things happened, but they went to
the show about going back in time. The order doesn't matter.
They went to the tavern, which they were having a trial inside the bar, which is like not okay. And then Sweater Bestie needed to find a pew pew because like,
oh yeah,
of course you do. Lucy went to, they like threatened some judges. Lucy went to Abby's sister's house because she had accused a bunch of women of witchcraft. It turns out Bathsheba, such an old-timey name. Turns out that she was married to one of the judges who had a really nasty wig, and I think he was the one that was the author from Once Upon a Time. I think he's the Once Upon a Time cast member. And then Bathsheba's like, no, I didn't accuse Abby. Oh, because when they were at the bar, Abby was like getting really feisty, and she was like, we're bad, you're bad people, witches aren't real, blah, blah, blah. And they were like, well, you're a witch, so obviously we have to arrest you now. And then they went to her sister's house. And then then there was like a physical altercation, and then they went somewhere else, and I don't know what happened at that point. And then they went back. And
at some point, Rufus runs into the guy that's from the premonition, and the premonition was like, you're gonna, and he was
that's the other judge.
Yeah,
with
and
another nasty wig.
And also, what's this woman's name that we think did it? What, Sheba?
Bathsheba.
So Sheba is like, I didn't accuse that woman. I accused all these other women. And we're supposed to be like, oh, yeah, that's okay. And that was very fascinating.
My neighbor, the girl up the street, the girl who like milks my cow, all of them. My sister, never.
No. So that was that was white feminism. And then, then they're back at the tavern, and Rufus and Lucy are talking. But at this point, I feel fully confident in the fact that Benjamin Franklin is going to be president. So I'm sitting with that knowledge, and it's like, oh, we can't let the mother of the future president.
Sure.
That's what I'm going with. Not electricity. Don't care about that. Being president of the United States was big stakes to me. But little did I know we had already done an American president story with a good old Abe
It is
Lincoln.
also ironic because the stakes in this episode are actually being able to disagree with American presidents, not electing one. The stakes of this episode are that Benjamin Franklin allowed us to disagree with our leaders.
Yeah.
And if he is not around, then we don't get to do that.
Benny Franklin's things was free press and being able to criticize public leaders. And that's where.
See, I'm learning.
Yeah.
I'm learning. Yeah. Got it.
Yeah.
So Lucy and Rufus are at the tavern, and like they keep doing these wide shots with like weird extras walking around. And I was like, that's a really weird shot, unless the extras are about to become very relevant very quickly. And then the extras became very relevant very quickly because they were actually rounding up with the huge rifle. And then they said, Abby, you're a witch. And her mom kicks down the door and is like, she's a witch. And then they arrest her. And it's like, my own mother.
Yeah. Yeah. And then there's like a good like bonding moment in the jail cell with all of the accused witches. And they're like, so you like to talk to birds. So you walk in the forest. Just because you're strong-willed and an independent woman doesn't mean you're a witch. Magic doesn't exist. The real magic is girl power. And then her mom shows up and is like, yeah, I accused you of witchcraft. Yeah, I traveled to the past for no reason. This is not about Rittenhouse. This is just my own personal vendetta. Here's a dagger. And then she pieces out.
And it's incredible to me that she pieced out. Because if my child was in those stakes that I had put them in, I don't think I would just say, here's a dagger and run away. But that's what she decided to do.
Yep.
And then
well, they don't use the dagger for any violence. They only use it to saw through the wooden rope that's like preventing them from escaping. Mm-hmm. And it is really not sharp, and it takes a very long time.
And then Sweater Bestie's got the and he's
way too quickly. Entirely historically inaccurate.
Correct. He's
the pew-pews were happening way too fast. You have to charge and reload that weapon. There was none of that happening.
Yep. And everyone gets free, and the bad guys are, but then Rufus and the guy from the premonition, it's premonition time, and they're doing the Spider-Man. Yeah. They're doing the Spider-Man. They're doing the Spider-Man. And Rufus is like, you've got a daughter. I don't want to do this. And they like lower their, and then the other guy takes like a step back, and horses come out of literally nowhere and run him over.
That's how Regina George died.
Uh-huh. But my thought is Regina George on a very busy street in a very busy like world. Maybe you wouldn't hear a bus coming, but in the middle of the woods, you would not hear the of those horses. You wouldn't hear that entire situation. Like you wouldn't have looked over and said, "Oh, hey, like someone's coming up the road. Like maybe we move our little standoff 1 foot that way." Like I don't understand how he was that silly goofy that he did not hear the horses coming. But anyway, he's gone.
It comes out of nowhere. Mm-hmm. And then then they free all the witches, and they're like, great, they're
like, go to Boston next year. And again, I was like, why? But now I know.
We did it. Boston was one of the first major cities in the United States. Whatever. Then they go back to the present, and it's so different because guess what? It's no longer the Salem witch trials. It's the Salem witch revolt.
And like, interestingly enough, did a lot for American phrasing, but did nothing for American feminism. The fact that they revolt does not influence the feminist agenda. It just changes our phrasing. But you skipped all of the really important parts of this episode.
I don't care.
We're going back to it. I was gonna do a little U-turn because I remember there was a B plot which was fascinating,
which I don't care about.
No, that's not the important part of the episode. Okay, the important part of the episode is that up until this point, the only there were huge stakes around Lucy and her seatbelt. Okay, so the first episode, Lucy has to buckle her own seatbelt in. By the second episode, Wyatt thinks she's cute enough that Wyatt starts buckling her seatbelt for her. Okay, there's this whole plot about Lucy being claustrophobic as well that we kind of over. And in this episode, somebody else does Lucy's seatbelt for her. And when I say the fandom community collectively lost their minds,
who did it? Flynn?
And she says no. And then he like calms her down, like shushes her, and does it anyway.
Wow. Dang, I'm going to have to go back and rewatch that point.
It is also the first episode in which Lucy makes the choice to change history.
Yes. I did get that. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And she has this line about like, I don't care about changing history. I care about innocent people.
Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. White feminism. Yeah.
The B plot though did give us a tension break.
No.
But I want to address the fact that Wyatt has to confront that he's not a perfect man. And his whole thing is, well, give me one more chance. And then she said yes. And then
we don't know.
But she gets to see the time machine come back.
Okay, I feel like this is time for my summary of the rest of the show.
Oh, please. Take us home, Alexis.
So let me find where my notes are so I can get us through the rest of the show. Oh, I forgot that we found out that Wyatt's dad was an abusive asshole. Okay, so then there's a Kennedy curse episode that we do not care about, except that Lucy and the wife have to team up, and Wyatt's wife. And a lot of people are like, oh, Wyatt, you're not asking any questions about why your wife is here. You should be concerned that somebody brought your wife back. And he doesn't care. But then he gets a little feisty because Flynn and Lucy are kind of Flynn and Lucy. Then we have the King of the Delta Blues episode, which is only important to me because Flynn protects Lucy from being shot. It's the only reason I care about that episode. Then we have Mrs. Sherlock Holmes, which is about women's right to vote. And a lot of shit goes down in this episode. Carol decides that like she's not sure she agrees with the supremacist organization because even though it was white male supremacy, she didn't realize it was white male supremacy. And she was only okay with being part of the agenda if it was like she was going to be involved. This is also the episode where we find out that Grandpa Nicholas and Emma are sleeping together. And
I could have told you that one.
He sends Emma back to Lucy, and Emma won't Lucy because Emma's mom was in an abusive relationship and Emma needs women to have the right to vote. Then in the next episode, Rittenhouse just decides that they are going to take out Agent Christopher because Agent Christopher is the one that brings the team together. What's important about that is that we discover that Agent Christopher is a lesbian. So we go back in time to save Agent Christopher. But when we save her, she decides that she's going to live in the closet forever. So we have to spend the whole episode convincing her to come out to her Indian parents so she can later marry a woman so that they can have this really great family. Then we have this whole situation with Harriet Tubman, which doesn't super matter, but she kind of convinces Rufus that like Gia could be having premonitions. Somewhere in the middle of this, we have Vodka Gate. Vodka Gate is when Lucy like shows up at Flynn's door in the bunker with vodka and he lets her in the door. And then we get this whole trailer debacle again, where we get a trailer of some more innuendo than what it actually happens in the episode. And I can't remember which is which, but what we go away with is that Flynn sleeps in the chair and Lucy sleeps in the bed. And when she wakes up, he says that she was a responsive lover and it broke the internet. And then Wyatt sees her leaving the room, but it was all a joke. They never slept together. And then we go back to, well, there's this whole thing where like Gia gets stuck back in time, she gets like stuck in Chinatown, and she's just like ruling Chinatown for a couple of years because she has had this premonition that if Rufus comes back to get her, he will, and he does go back to get her, and he does, and Lucy fires a gun at Emma because Emma took out Lucy's mom. And when she fires the gun, there blinks, and Flynn catches her sobbing frame. And then they go back to the present, and Wyatt with a really bad beard from the future and Laura Croft Lucy from the future come to the present and say, we have really bad headaches because we're not supposed to be in a time where you exist. But if we don't save Rufus, everything is going to go down. So they go to save Rufus. Well, then the movie happens. And the thing with the Miracle of Christmas
Stop. So the end of the show is we have to go save Rufus?
Well, see, I can't remember if that's the end of the show or if that's the beginning of the movie, but it has now been edited to be the end of the show. So if you watch it now, that is what you see before the movie.
I just want everyone to know I am not like putting on a performance. These are my genuine facial expressions. This is wild.
So, did they know they were going to do a movie?
No.
So they just ended on those stakes.
Yes.
Didn't get renewed, got a movie instead, and said, well, that's what the movie has to be.
Yes.
Okay. How long is the movie?
The movie's like 2 hours and some change.
Okay.
The thing with the movie is that the movie and the pilot were written by the same people. Those people were not involved in the rest of the show at all. So while the movie works as an extension of the pilot, it does not work as an extension of the show. It leaves out a bunch of plot lines, and it changes a bunch of characterization that had occurred in the show because they just kind of, and they have famously been like, well, we didn't watch the show, we just wrote the movie. So like it doesn't match with, so Wyatt and Lucy fans are pro the movie.
Sure.
Yeah.
People that do not ship Wyatt and Lucy believe that Christmas isn't canon. So the movie is not canonical to us, to my people.
It's like the Harry Potter play.
Yes.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we ready for the movie?
No. For the first time ever, I think, on this show, I am not ready for what's about to happen.
Okay. Now you're going to feel what we all feel every day.
So the short version of the movie, I'm just going to hit the high points.
Yeah.
Somewhere in this, we get to see some of Lucy's journal. And this raises a lot of controversy in the fandom community. Yes.
Is this the first time we've seen her journal?
Well, this is the first time Lucy has really gotten to go that we have gone through the journal with Lucy.
Thank you. Okay.
And there is an entry in the journal that implies that in Laura Croft Lucy's timeline, she and Flynn had a moment on the Titanic, that they had to go back and save the Titanic, and she and Flynn had a situationship that resulted in a long-term affair. Not that they were cheating on anybody, but like a long-term thing.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, Liz.
Where did they land the time machine?
We don't know. We don't know any of the details except for that. Now, when Lucy...
No. They have to go back in time to the Titanic?
We don't see that. We just find out in the journal that for future Lucy, not our Lucy, for future Lucy and Flynn had a situationship on the Titanic.
So they just throw Titanic stakes.
Yes, they just throw Titanic stakes in the show, but we never get it.
I have so many logistical questions.
We don't have time.
Well, we don't have. We are like an hour and a half into the show, and we are still. Okay,
continue.
So they have a situationship on the Titanic. Lucy goes to Flynn and it's like, if you knew this, why didn't you tell me? If you knew, like, you have kept this secret from me this whole time, right? And Flynn basically says, because if you read on in the journal, you'll see that you're still in love with Wyatt, that it was always going to be Wyatt, but Wyatt chose Jessica. Oh, and I did forget that. Jessica faked a pregnancy. That situation happened. Yeah, there was a long-term pregnancy fake. So
all network TV is the same.
Yeah. And that you will always choose him. This raises a lot of controversy in the fandom community because it kind of implies that this Lucy, that the future Lucy, that there is a Lucy that was aware of what she was including in the journal, and that she included specific things to manipulate Flynn into making the choices that she needed him to make, and that Flynn needed hope after losing his wife and children, or his wife and child. So she included what she did in the journal to give him that hope. The movie does not intend for us to see that, but that is really the only way that you can accept like how the events go down. Because she makes several points that like, I wouldn't have included this. I'm surprised this Lucy included it, right? Okay. So then they have to go and save Rufus. And they meet a bunch of cowboys who are actually rancheros, but we call them cowboys. And Flynn realizes that the only way to save Rufus is to himself. Because they need a part of the time machine that they don't have. So he travels back so that Rufus doesn't, and then sacrifices himself. So basically goes and sees his family one last time and then perishes on like the beach and leaves Lucy a very long like love letter about like all of the stuff that she has done for him and why he sacrificed himself for her. That is not even halfway through the film. So then they have to go back and do other shenanigans, and Emma is trying to off them like in the middle of some blitz, and they have to seek refuge in a church, and then Lucy helps a woman deliver a baby, and then they almost and then somewhere in all of that, they save the day and they kind of arrest Rittenhouse and everything
I don't remember what they need to do to save the day at this point. Is it Rittenhouse?
Yeah, they need to get rid of Rittenhouse. They need to get rid of Rittenhouse. So they do that. And then apparently Wyatt and Lucy get together and they have twin girls, Flynn and Amy, which I know isn't necessarily a queer thing, but feels like the most rainbow thing that this show does. So they have Flynn and Amy. We find out that Lucy is a tenured professor teaching about history that is not in books because she's teaching about the history she experiences. And when a student basically says, like, how do you know so-and-so is gay? Lucy is like, well, you're just going to have to trust me. Wink, wink. Right? Like no academic sources cited. Gia is like running this company and like rocking the world. Rufus is working for her and they are going to recruit other children from science fairs. Okay. Then they have to go back in time so that Lucy can give Flynn the journal that starts this whole thing. Because if she never delivers the journal to Flynn, then he never steals the time machine in the first place. And Laura Croft, future Lucy, delivered the journal at this time because they had never stopped Rittenhouse. But because they save Rufus and stop Rittenhouse, Lucy now has like had this future and has to go back and give the journal to Flynn. So she finds Flynn and she does the flirty flirt and Wyatt watches her and we're supposed to pretend that that isn't triangle coding. And then she gives him the journal and kind of like winky winks, and the fan fiction community decides that she sleeps with him there, but we don't see that on screen. And then she goes back and the end of the episode is like a montage of all of the stuff in the pilot happening, but the movie ends on the image of a little girl that they recruited from the science fair drawing the time machine. So, like, even though they have dismantled it, the implication is that this little girl will create another time machine and that this whole thing will start again anyway.
Okay. My closing thought is, if anyone was as entertained by that as I was, I would highly recommend you watch Once Upon a Time. It's available on Disney Plus. It is that.
No, I'm going
just with Disney characters.
I'm going to counter propose. We do this again, but you assign us 2 episodes of Once Upon a Time to watch and fill in all the plot as Alexis just did.
I would love to do that.
Let's do Alexis, this has been a treat. I want to watch every show by just watching random episodes and getting you to tell me everything. This has been the most productive hour of my life. I got all the joy.
We watched 2 seasons and a movie.
Thank you.
Now, one fascinating thing is that the fandom community on Tumblr, like 2 really enterprising, brilliant individuals, wrote a season 3 and 4 of Timeless in which the movie isn't canon. So they created like trailers and promos and all of this stuff and wrote like 23 spec scripts.
Oh my God.
For a season 3 and then later a season 4 of this show.
What happens?
Wow.
Well, important historical events that would have never been included in the show. So like Stonewall, where everybody in the cast comes out as a rainbow friend.
Beautiful.
Like there is a Titanic episode, like they do that, but it's a whole, and they have a much better plot line with Nicholas where he's like actually an adversary and not just like a dude on the Peloton.
Yeah.
Wow. And then where do they end it?
Cool.
I have not finished it yet. They were finishing writing it like last year. Well, the beginning of this year.
It's still happening. It's how fresh this is.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. So 3 was written around the time the movie was written. And then when COVID happened, they teased that they may be trying to bring Timeless back because they did like a live script reading thing.
Yeah.
And so that kind of spurred them into writing season 4.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So let me tell you about my feels.
Let me tell you about my feels is a fan fiction author that's going to eventually think that we're stalking her because between Sly and I, we have brought this woman up approximately 7,000 times on this show. Let me tell you about my feels is a fan fiction author for Timeless, which if you listen to her 5.5-hour interview on the Dispatch 911 podcast, you will find out that Timeless is the show that brought her back to writing in the fan fiction community. She writes for Timeless and she writes for Buddy. The important Timeless thing here is that there are like 2 authors that have written Timeless as a triangle. Well, not as a triangle, like as a Lexi triangle.
Okay.
As an Alexis triangle. And she is one of them. So like 95% of the fics that are written where they are a triangle, she has written them. And that is how I got Sly interested in Timeless. I sent Sly a fic that Sly claims it is explicit, and another fic that was a retelling of Castle, which Sly has also not seen. About Timeless.
Gotcha.
I am so wonderfully in information overload that if we had sponsors, I would roll a sponsor tape to give my mind a second to catch up with me.
She also, there is a bit in the Salem episode where this is important to understanding why we like morally gray villains. But there is a bit in the Salem witch episode where Flynn mirrors, like Flynn is kind of in the position that Wyatt would be in, both like in role and visually. And where Wyatt consistently overrides Lucy to make the decision, Flynn looks to Lucy for permission to beat the crap out of a guy. And some people in the community, including, let me tell you about my feels, decided that that was reflective of their dynamic behind closed doors.
Juicy.
Wow.
Because consistently, Lucy is the one that directs Flynn on where to go, which created this long fic with sequels in which Rittenhouse gets taken down because they all frequent the same behind closed doors establishment, and Lucy was a dominatrix in college, which is referenced in my notes approximately 82 times.
Wow.
That is the other reason. Let me tell you about my feels.
So
specifically in regards to this episode.
Without context,
Yes.
could you provide us with 5 to 10 of the most popular, the most common, or the most beloved tropes or pairings in the timeless fanfic community? Like, if you had to tell us 5 things about timeless fanfic to look up, maybe not tell us to look up, but tell us exists in the world.
Mm-hmm.
What would said things be?
Okay, so I do not read Lucy and Wyatt fics. There is a very big part of the community who thinks that they are a valid relationship. So this is going to have to exclude that part of the community because I don't read that stuff. Mm-hmm. So one would be in the Salem Witch episode. There are approximately 90,000 fics written about what would happen if you got stabbed by a dagger in the Salem witch trial time. So there are a lot of fics written about like Lucy getting a terrible infection and Flynn having to take care of her because he walks her down the steps. Like Wyatt comes up the steps to get her, and I
would like to say something on this point. How do they not have a like proper landing to biohazard flow of exiting the top? Like they just fully.
Why don't they have a med bay in the time machine? Like,
they should have full hazmat suit wear situation. Like, no one should be in that space.
So that's a fic that happens. Another commonly seen situation is there was a whole thing where they made a point. They make a point in the show that once they're in the bunker, the door to the bathroom doesn't lock. There were a lot of fics written about that situation. There were a fair amount of fics that were reimaginings of the entire show. If every time Flynn mentioned the journal, he was implying that Lucy had actually slept with him in that time period. So that they had been sleeping together like all along.
Wow.
There were a fair amount of fics that did that. There are a fair amount of like Flynn lives, but what happens now? Like, how do we deal with the trauma of the last like so many years? There were a bunch of fics about that.
Wow.
There are just a ridiculous. Oh, I forgot. That was really important. I'll have to tell you that in a minute. There are a ridiculous number of fics in which Wyatt's wife, Jess, ends up in a relationship with Lucy's sister, Amy.
Does she come back?
No. And that is what so in the pilot, Amy says to Lucy, like, let me buy you a drink. And it's a joke because they're standing around the island in the kitchen, right? What I realized in this watching, which I have not seen before, is that is the exact line and exact cadence that Lucy uses when she gives the journal to Flynn. She says, can I buy you a drink the same way? And her giving the journal to Flynn is the reason that Amy disappears. Lucy knows that there's no way to give the journal to Flynn and not lose Amy, and she chooses to do it anyway.
Wow.
Wow.
So we never find out what her podcast was about?
No.
Aw.
That hurts my feelings.
There is a big debate about whether or not Lucy's mom was always in Rittenhouse. Because there is a line later when Lucy's Lucy's mom, Moira Queen, says to Lucy, because Lucy kind of goes home at the end of the first season and is like, I'm going back to get Amy. And I'm apologizing now because you may be sick when I get back. And her mom says, I can't get sick. Rittenhouse would never let that happen. And that's how Lucy finds out that she's Rittenhouse. So there's a big debate as to, like, if by preventing Lucy's mom from meeting the man that she has Amy with, who becomes Lucy's dad, if in that relationship she became unattractive to Rittenhouse and like got out in some way, and that by changing that, they guarantee her involvement in Rittenhouse. Because her involvement with Rittenhouse is through Lucy's dad, but not through Amy's dad. Which is why Amy disappeared, but Lucy didn't.
Okay. Much to think about.
Yeah.
My brain is processing so much.
I was good for a long time, and we hit a point, and I'm like, no, it's too much now.
So let's play a game. And I would invite everybody in the chat to follow along as we, in America, AAA means the American Automotive Association. In my world, AAA means Ask Alexis Anything. So I'm going to give AAA a call, and we're going to ask Alexis some questions about Timeless, and specifically, well, I kind of want to change the game a little bit now, because I was going to ask you if these historical events were in the show, but now I feel like I've got a good sense of what isn't in the show.
Okay.
So we're gonna talk through some historical moments in history. Yeah, that was a sentence. And you're gonna tell us if there's a fanfic about it. And if there's not, what do you think would happen if they went to that period?
Okay, sure.
So Sly's recommendation of where to start was incredible. 1862 and the discovery of the Book of Mormon.
I have not read a fanfic about it. But I think if there was a fanfic about it, we would discover that Wyatt had some weird relationship with religion. Like if there was an episode of Timeless where there was a Book of Mormon situation, Wyatt would have some weird situationship with religion.
Got it. Marissa, do you have a historical moment you would like to flag?
Yeah. One of the historical events that is the most fascinating to me, the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory fire.
It does appear in the Timeless season 3 reimagining. Yes, it does.
Nice. Cool. Liz is Googling what the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory fire is.
I was actually Googling what my next question came out in, but yeah, I have no idea what you're talking about.
It was a big moment for labor rights in the turn of the 20th
is that
century.
like Enola Holmes? No.
Kind of, but in America.
But it was like but same kind of.
But factory like work, yes. Yeah. But a lot of people D-worded.
Understood.
In a fire because they locked them into the factory in a high-rise in New York City.
Horrible.
Actually, there may be more than one fic about it. There is at least 2 that I can think of off the top of my head.
That's that's cool. What else?
The 1996 cast recording of Rent the Musical.
Ooh.
No, but Rent is mentioned in the Stonehouse, or not the Stonehouse, not Stonehouse, the Stonewall Uprising, Timeless season 3 fic.
We are just pitching Timeless season 3. Look at us go.
Incredible.
What else? What else? What else? What else? What else?
Woodstock. I know there was a Woodstock reference on the TV.
It feels like a thing that would be in a Timeless season 3 or 4, but I do not remember.
What about
that's
Live
supposed to
Aid? What about Live Aid? Freddie Mercury?
Mhm.
Oh, we're here. He's doing the whole
It's
Queen
not
step
America,
with the
though.
clapping, and Lucy's running through the crowd in like a cute little crop top. No?
It's not
Okay.
America.
Oh, yeah. True.
What about
Very
one
true.
of the times that the US has hosted the Olympics? Any Olympics?
There are a lot. There are a fair amount of fics where ice skating is involved. Because Flynn is historically not from, like, even in the show, Flynn is not American.
Yeah.
Right.
So I guess we just assume that's people that are vaguely Slavic ice skate. There is also a ballroom dance competition fic, which has been mentioned on Will Throw the After Party approximately 7,000 times. It takes two to swing, or it takes two to tango, but three to swing.
Yep.
What about more recent history? Like, could they go back in time to the premiere day of Infinity War? Or
I think they should.
Yeah, they should.
I think they should. And I think if we went back in time and they watched like the Disney Plus projects, that Wyatt Logan would be a human being who thinks John Walker is an okay kind of guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I stand by that.
Absolutely.
And does the shared name have anything to do with that?
The name isn't shared.
Well, his real
Wyatt Russell.
real life name is Wyatt Russell.
Okay. I was like,
I got there eventually, but I was not following you, Liz.
His real name is Wyatt Russell.
What
when asked, when the cast was asked where in history they would like to go back to, the actor mentioned that he was very religious and therefore would like to go back to the crucifixion of Christ. And I have never gotten over that moment, ever.
Okay, so to your question,
Okay.
Where would you go back in time, besties, if you could go to one place?
Don't start with
I
me.
have an answer.
Go to Marissa.
Marissa.
If you might have been able to guess, all of my like historical event fascinations are incredibly depressing and tragic, and so I don't want to go back to any of those, but I would like to like be in New York City at like the turn of the 20th century, like 1904-ish, and like walk through a department store and see like what is available.
Such a better answer than
in a department store, like what the toys look like, what the like what cosmetics, that's the word, look like. I'm really fascinated by material history and like domestic history, dress history, all of those kinds of things, like the things that people used every day, what the tactile stuff, clothes, like goods. I want to look at a grocery store at the turn of the century. Like, I want to live a day as Samantha Parkington from the American Girl Dolls historic series.
This is, I'm seeing it all come together. My answer is not that good.
I just had the craziest idea for Timeless. What if, I'm trying to process what I just thought of. What if is it either going to be a fanfic or it could be like an entire season or a spinoff show? They simply chose where they were going back in time based on if there was an American Girl doll about said point in history.
Amazing.
And they have to take the doll. Like the whole thing. Like they've got one of every American Girl doll that's ever existed, and they have to go to whatever point in time she's related to and take her and check it for relevancy. And the whole point of the show is American Girl has a time machine, and that's how they create their dolls.
Honestly,
100%.
In the theme of pitching children's programming on our non-children's appropriate show, I am surprised that American Girl has not done this already, and it hasn't been titled something like American Girl Dolls on the Time Machine Bus Vroom Vroom.
They kind of did.
See, here we go.
It was not a TV show, but for a long time at the American Girl doll stores, they had a live show, which has like a cast of 5 like 12-year-old girls, and they would like play act some of the historical dolls. Like they would pretend that they were like reenacting the stories of like Felicity, but then like Felicity would come out on stage, like a person dressed as Felicity would come out on stage and like tell them the story of her life. So like in a like community theater for young audiences kind of way, they did do that.
Wow. But I want to see Lucy and Flynn pick up a doll and hold one of her hands and buckle her into the time machine.
100%.
A ton of fics where Flynn and Lucy get stranded somewhere in time and have to become married and live together for a decade before they are rescued. And I feel like a lot of those should have just included the handling of American Girl dolls.
I agree. Yeah. I'm fully on board with that.
Where are you going in history? Where are you going in history?
I'm going to the Ed Sullivan Show and the night that the Beatles performed, which is my go-to answer. It was a moment that changed TV and entertainment forever and is the spark of a lot of hysteria that we know now to be fan behavior. And specifically the thing that I read and know about, but I want to know what the tactical experience was the reports of the tech not being equipped to handle the sound and how there was all this controversy around the audience being too loud. And this was something that was the Beatles over the course of their career. And that's why we have stadium and surround sound now and why concert audio tech has evolved the way it has, because no one could ever hear the Beatles play because the fans were too loud and people would complain we can't hear the band because they're too quiet. And so Beatlemania itself like changed entertainment forever, but the Ed Sullivan Show is very interesting because it was like the spark of a bunch of problems in entertainment and a bunch of like really cool things in entertainment. And Ed Sullivan's, when I got to go to the Ed Sullivan Theater, I was like but it's fine. It's a real building in New York. It was very fine, but it was a big moment for me to be in the Ed Sullivan Theater. So that's where
Alexis, do not change your answer. I want to know what it is.
You all can't give really smart answers, and then I'm gonna give a really not like smart and thoughtful, on brand answer, and then I'm gonna end up being the Wyatt of our show. I don't want to be the Wyatt of our show.
No.
No one can be the Wyatt of our show because none of us are a white man. It's fine.
My answer has always been that I would like to go back in time so that I can work at the original Playboy Club in Chicago.
That's a great answer.
Why do I feel like I've heard you say this before? That's such a good answer.
Yeah.
Why?
Because, okay, A, the outfits are cute. B, the mob was involved. We all know how I feel about the mafia. And C, it is an interesting time for feminism. Like the role that Playboy played in women being allowed to work a specific type of job in Chicago is just like interesting within what would be the rest of Playboy's history. Like where they went was not necessarily where they started. And the role that they had in like letting women of color have jobs at the club and like divorced women have jobs at the club and like all of these things that then get overshadowed by the misogyny of the company. I think it plays an interesting part in American feminism and work life, and the outfits are cute.
So, is there a fic where like Lucy is doing that and like Flynn shows up to the...
No, but there was essentially a show about it.
I know.
It went like
about it. It was unjustly canceled.
It was unjustly canceled.
Starring Laura Benanti.
Yeah. It went like, I don't know, a couple episodes.
Yeah, it was
What
like 3
show?
episodes.
Really hard to find.
Playboy.
The Playboy Club.
I've never heard of it.
It literally had 3 episodes.
Yeah, it got they had like filmed 6 or something, but it got canceled because of Christian organizations that like petitioned and like removed advertising funding and like all sorts of stuff.
It was like 2010 or something. It was like not that long ago.
No, it was 2011 because it was my freshman semester. It was my first semester of my freshman year of college.
Okay. Yeah.
Wow. I need to go find this. Now,
It's really difficult to find, but it had a very interesting cast.
I'm obsessed. I think that was 3 fabulous answers to that question. 3 equal.
I think it's such a good answer.
I don't know how you could have that answer in your back pocket and then think you're going to be the Wyatt of this group. I think that's infinitely more interesting than using audio tech for broadcasting because of the Beatles and the Ed Sullivan Theater. Like,
It's such a.
I don't even want to go to an event. I just want to go to a store. I just want to go shopping.
They're incredibly on brand answers for you, though. Like I think
as is yours. As
Yeah.
is yours, bestie. Now, we're at the end of the show, and I would like to just do every time we've done this, we've done some rapid fire slays.
Mhm.
And I would like to propose a tweak to the rapid fire slays and call this segment Rapid Fire Notes, where we read our notes that we think slay.
Okay.
What do y'all think?
Yeah.
Our own?
Our own notes.
Okay.
So I'm gonna share the timer back up on the screen, and let's do 3 minutes. I think that's fine. 3 minutes, and we're just gonna quickly go through our notes, read what's there, and then slay. We ready to go? I'm not. I gotta find my notes. All right, let's do it. So we'll all just live off your podcast. I feel called out. Slay.
In succession, a blimp exclamation mark. Oh, is this that one famous one? Yes, it is. Slay.
My soul for her outfit. Slay.
Is this like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. shenanigans meets West Wing intensity? Slay.
Oh, I am about to go full American Studies on this. I can feel it. Wow. Slay.
We just did not learn from the Titanic, did we? I say to history, this is not a reference to the Titanic thing. TM. Slay.
The more I watch, the more I can confirm I've never watched this show. Slay.
Can I just say, though, history and anthropology is just American Studies. Slay.
Take a shot every time Alexis points out that Lucy has at least 1 PhD because the show never used her proper title challenge. Slay.
I really want this blue-eyed drunk guy to say, we, and that was in relation to when the time machine was going to go for the first time back in time. Slay.
She said the words about those clothes in my head before I had the chance to write it down. Dress history, slay.
Gia has to have her hair in front of her eyes so that we know she's alt. Slay.
I like that the time machine looks like a 2000s webcam. Slay.
Fun fact, every actor on network TV looks the same because I keep thinking I know these people and I look them up and I've never seen anything they're in. Slay.
Garcia's actor was in a war and somehow it's still giving John Barrowman and Torchwood. Slay.
Rufus saying the back of the bus was amazing. No. That's not a slay.
In all capital letters, professors aren't just teachers. Slay.
Oh, I can't find another one. Oh no, the beginning of the seat bullshit. Slay.
All capital letters. Buck. His name is Buck LMAO. Slay.
Oh, I just noticed the Jodhpurs. Slay. Slay.
I'm claustrophobic. The hold that statement had on the fan fiction community. Slay.
The wife looks nothing like the journalist. They're both just blonde and white. Not a slay.
I wrote, that is a fully different woman. Slay.
Why is he wearing pajamas? Slay.
Okay. I vote we move into the second episode we watched.
Okay, perfect.
And do another group.
Although that means that we're skipping the whole paragraph where I compare the time machine to a vagina and imply that they should have recreated what it looked like. But yeah, we'll just move to the second episode.
I will make you a trade deal. You do not read those notes, and I will not read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 lines of the history of Benjamin Franklin.
Perfection.
Great. I'll reset the clock. We're now talking about season 2, episode 4, the Salem Witch Hunt. These are our notes that slayed. I have to just find a note to start with. Who is the ginger? Slay.
I love the Salem witch trials. Slay.
Bad luck, I'm going to forget your birthday, or bad luck, I'm going to screw up the Louisiana Purchase. Slay.
There's my favorite sweater salesman. Slay.
The sleeper agent has a nasty wig. I know that. Slay.
Technically, the last time you saw those eyes was in that picture you hang on to Oliver Queen on Leanne Yu style. Slay.
Googled Benjamin Franklin to see what he did in office. Slay.
Oh, that's the author from Once Upon a Time. This show is just Once Upon a Time. Slay.
Wyatt, everyone and their snail knows you were a shit husband. Slay.
I hope she gets to use her wire bra to get out of here. Slay.
I don't like sad man anymore. Slay.
Oh yeah, the sleeper agent. Slay.
Sweater man got moves. Slay.
Okay, that part is true. Parentheses, why they were accused. Ellipse. Actually, we don't really know, but it's our best guesstimate. Ellipse. There's like 4 theories. Ellipse. I don't love acting like history is an objective truth. Wait, maybe that's the point of the show. LOL. Close parentheses. Slay.
Garcia Flynn walking with his hands behind his back equals TK's hands going straight over his head. Slay.
How do I not pick up 10 million old diseases and bring them back to modern times? Slay.
The Wigs? Absolutely not. Slay.
Tommy has joined my viewing and is laying like one of what I meant to put was Leo, but it came out Leon's French girls. Slay.
How did no one stumble across the ship in the same forest this whole time? Slay.
Groupthink is a powerful bitch, ain't she? Slay.
Moira Queen cosplaying a Dementor. Slay.
Oh my god. All of my other notes are about Benjamin Franklin. Slay.
The people politics, I really do not care. You like him, he likes her, they're friends with tension. Doesn't matter. Slay.
Translation, I was a possessive asshole. You got out of the car. I was convinced I was right, and being right was more important than my marriage. So I left you on the side of the fucking road, and then you were, Wyatt Logan, stop gaslighting me. Slay.
I've got nothing else for it, so you two finish her off.
I have one more. Mommy, no! Exclamation mark. Slay.
Tacos. There will throw the after party viewers confirmed. Slay.
Brilliant, my friends. What a week. What a slay. I really had fun with this one. Alexis, thank you for bringing us fully into the timeless world. I feel like now I'm open to the fanfic recs, specifically those that deal with the Ed Sullivan Show and those that are to be written after the show finishes. I'm sure all of the timeless community is going to find this and want to help us on board into the Tumblr season 3 and 4 era and the fanfic era of Timeless. Do you have any closing thoughts for us on this incredible piece?
My only closing thought is that I do want to point out that we had a section that we skipped because we kind of like explained it holistically about our Puritans and our witches, our lows and highs, and Sly picked accurate highs and lows and has never seen any bit of Timeless, and I feel like that is important.
Why don't you share them with everyone? I think they're worth stating on behalf of all of us.
Okay, hang on. I'm scrolling.
We have so many notes this week.
Okay, yeah, it's like 30-page document. So Sly's Witches, which was their positive, is Maria Flynn. Notably, Maria Flynn is in the extra credit episode that nobody watched, that I only included because I knew Sly would want to watch it.
Okay.
And their Puritans, which I'm assuming is their was Wyatt Logan pre-therapy.
Yeah, that checks out. I'm happy to stand by that. And with that, why don't we say goodnight and let the people know where they can find us on the internet this week? I'm producer Liz. You can find me everywhere at producer Liz. I've got some pieces that have come out with iHeartRadio and Tag24 that you can catch up on. And I'm traveling all this week, and I'm going to be doing travel content because on Instagram, like 80% of you told me that you wanted to see some chaotic travel content. So that gets going tomorrow. Stay tuned. And probably I'm going to put up a new Tea Time with Liz banner on my Instagram story where when I'm traveling, I put up a question box. And when I have time, when I'm in my Ubers or whatever, I answer all your questions about PR, pop culture, publicity. So if you got burning questions, you can pop them there starting tomorrow, probably. Marissa?
I am Marissa. You can find me everywhere at Miss Abobissa on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. I'm going to be talking about Disney and Marvel and theater and probably the Wicked movie a lot. And I'm going to be like, I think I'm going to do some like wrap up end of year, like hair in the MCU kind of stuff soon. That's been playing around in my brain. So look out for that on TikTok. And you can also find me in 2 hours. I don't really know how it works. I never know what time it's on, but you can find me soon on Twitter live tweeting, Martin Short and Steve Martin's episode of SNL, which starts at 10:30, 11:30. I don't know how it works.
Only Murders episode of SNL. I'm claiming that because I'm assuming they're going to bring Selena.
Oh, 100%.
Yes. It's going to be a good one. And Brittany Carlisle as a musical guest.
It's going to be really good.
What are you on the internet?
I am at Just Alexis Blake on TikTok and on Instagram. I'm hopefully doing a Christmas or winter decoration tour of my home soon. And I've really wanted to come up with some way. My recent bit on TikTok has been talking about how I use fandom to ruin my graduate school program. And so I was trying to come up with a way to talk both about fandom and these research articles that I read all the time that I care a lot about. And I recently came up with a fun game for that. So hopefully sometime in the next week, I will be launching that and everyone can play along.
Can't wait.
Yay.
And as always, you can find Sly at SlyCloneMD and at Point in Progress and MC University. And you can probably find the replay of their stream watching the Game Awards live. They did a live react with I think the Pip crew, most of the Pip crew, all the Pip crew. Definitely not getting a nod from Sly right now. That is what happened.
There's no one behind the scenes.
There's no one behind the scenes. It's like the Wizard of Oz. Do not look behind the curtain. There's no one there. I don't know if that's what the line is. That's what it was in my.
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Yeah, but then there was this whole bit when the youth production did it, and they were having trouble getting the actor so they just kept going. They're like, do not look behind.
No.
It went on for a little bit too long. In my head, I have a very extended version of trying to expose who the wizard was, and it's very, very, very funny. That's a story for another time. But with that said, find Sly everywhere if you're interested in the Game Awards. Here it was a dramatic week, and I'm sure Pip's going to talk more about it on their show. And that's it for us. And have a great week. And we'll be back next Saturday, probably throwing our last after party of the year. So come next week, holiday ready, get a drink, bring your friends. We're going to recap lots of what happened this year because we were all over the place and we have not planned the show, but usually we do some kind of big wrap, and I'm sure that's what we're going to do next week. So make sure you tune in or catch the replay. Hi to the replayers. We didn't say that at all this episode. If you're still here, thanks for watching. And that's all I got to say. Anyone else want to sign off with me?
Follow the show. Follow us everywhere at After Party Show, SHO, on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. We're vibing over there too. And like and subscribe and all of the stuff.
Marissa's meme game is truly extraordinary, as is Sly's recently as well, because I forgot that I wanted to publicly apologize for crediting Marissa with a meme that Sly did in fact make. So if you would like to see the memes that are currently controlling my life, they're all on After Party Show. And I highly recommend you go see them, because Marissa and Sly do a great job. And with that, we'll be back next week. Bye.